So we're going to talk about pricing and repricing today. Um, Here at SellerSnap, we talk a little bit internally about this term that we call Repricing-onomics. And Repricing-onomics basically is the branch of knowledge that goes in and into how do we price and reprice our items. And so that takes into account everything from our COGS, our cost of goods sold, Amazon fees, our competitors, both in the buy box if I'm a reseller, or even the other competitors that I am competing against with my brand. If I'm selling, sparkling water, we obviously know that I have a ton of different competition out there. So Repricing-onomics might be a term that you hear when speaking to SellerSnap or throughout this presentation. But basically what SellerSnap does is that we are an AI Amazon repricer. And what we do is we aim to get the buy box at the optimal price by avoiding price wars. And so the way that we do this is we scan the competitive environment in order to understand the decisions our competitors make based off of the decisions that we make. And then from there, the goal is to grab the buy box and drive conversions in that way. So historically, we've been focused on sellers and resellers. And more recently, we've developed some tools to help with pricing for brands and private label as well. But today, I'm not going to talk so much about repricing, but I'm going to talk about some of the factors that affect us during repricing, and especially during Q4. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the peak fulfillment fee. So if anyone hasn't heard about the peak fulfillment fee, it's something that you got to get on right away. Mike was talking earlier about how selling on Amazon is getting harder and harder because we as sellers are getting squeezed more and more in our pricing and in our bottom line. And so basically Amazon has put in this new fee that's running from October 15th of this year until January 14th of next year. That means on January 15th is when the change is going to happen, where on average, they're changing the FBA. They're changing the FBA fee about 35 cents per item. And this is strictly on the US and Canada FBA environments. So for the EU sellers out there, you're safe for now. But the important thing to note is that these fees still include the inflation and fuel surcharges that we've been seeing throughout the year. So this is something that is an additional fee that is short term for the holiday season. So Amazon can help cover their increased fulfillment and logistics costs throughout Q4. And one interesting thing to note is that because it goes all the way through January 14th, it means that even Amazon sees that Q4 doesn't end on Christmas, like a lot of sellers think. It actually goes through the beginning of January. So just kind of a side note about that. Make sure you have enough inventory to get you through those first 2 weeks of the year. So I'm going to talk quick. I'm going to give a couple quick examples of what we can see in these increases. For example, here we have a case for a phone. It's a standard small size in Amazon terms. And we can see during the regular year, the FBA fee would be $3.07. And but with the peak fee, it would be $3.28 in the Amazon fee. So it's a 21-cent increase, which at scale, across multiple different listings, we can see will can kind of catch up and add up rather quickly. The next one is in regards to another example is in regards to t-shirts. They've actually split the way that the fees are broken down into 3 categories. They called it core FBA, apparel, and dangerous goods. And so when t-shirts fall under dangerous goods, it's actually we see slightly larger increases here. It's about a 32-cent increase for apparel, and we're seeing similar jumps for dangerous goods, along with kind of large, heavy items as well that are being shipped by FBA. So if you're taking anything from this, is to go double check your margins, taking into account these inflated fees, and you have to do that by October 15th. And then you can also reevaluate that after the start of the year on January 15th, when that peak fee goes away. The second thing I want to talk about in terms of food for thought for Q4 is strategies to get around the logistic hurdles. We know that throughout the year, we're constantly adjusting, and those adjustments, whether you're a reseller or your brand or private label, can happen in specific intervals throughout the year. You know that at the beginning of the year, it might be a little bit less throughout the main chunk of the year. Through Prime Day, you'll be making more adjustments, but definitely during Q4, we need to stay on top of how repricing and logistics go hand in hand. And so one of the things that we need to think about is, in advance, have a game plan for how do I act when I have these different scenarios occurred. For example, when I send an item into FBA, I sell out, but I still have some back ordered items. How do I want to price? In Q4, if being back ordered is going to affect your velocity or affect your buy box share, you might want to make the decision to lower your price. But if it doesn't affect your velocity, maybe you'll hold fast or raise it. Other things to take into account are things like long delivery times for FBA items and FBA items that are not checked in yet. Because what ends up happening is sellers will look and see that, this isn't going to get here by the date that I need. And they might go out or customers might go out and find an alternative solution in order to, fulfill that gift that they want to give at the Christmas party, or even by Christmas itself. So how do I want to price or reprice my items when it's going to take a little bit longer for my items to get to the customer? And the last one that you also might want to think about is, what happens if I'm the only seller in stock? Does that mean, and in that scenario, a lot of times sellers would want to raise the price. You want to make sure that you're maximizing that price per sale when you're the only one with inventory. So the main point about this slide is to make sure that we have plans in place about pricing through every single scenario that could possibly happen with my inventory. And then to go back to the talk that we had a little bit earlier with Alex, is that we can also rely on third parties to help us fulfill when I do have those back order listings, long delivery time, or they're not checked in. Third party fulfillments are really helpful, or relying on my own warehouse is really helpful in order to quickly get those items into the hands of my customer during Q4, during crunch time. And so the first thing I spoke about had to do with the new Amazon fees, the peak fees. The second thing is, make a game plan for overcoming logistical hurdles throughout Q4. And the last thing I want to talk about is to remember the people in your life. During Q4, we often have our nose to the ground, heads at our keyboard or in our warehouses or whatever we're doing. And it is a time that is money-making time. It's a time that companies are in the black. And that is a crunch time for businesses throughout the entire e-commerce space. But we also need to remember why we are doing it. So my last tip about Q4 is, do what you got to do for your business, do what you got to do for your work life, but remember your life outside of your work life, and remember the people around you as well. So that's it for me. If anybody has any questions about the new fees, how to handle logistical hurdles, please reach out. My email is here below. You can catch me on LinkedIn, or you can also reach out to one of our amazing customer success agents at SellerSnap at support@sellersnap.io. And thank you for your time.